Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Solid Ground. Welcome back to Solid Ground in many ways. I'm sure there's lots of familiar faces here. Look, great for you to join me. Solid Grounds, where I spend 20 to 30 minutes on a Tuesday and a Thursday looking at the social and the cultural, the political, the ethical events happening around the world and here, of course, in New Zealand, and having a little bit of commentary. But know that this is live, which means that if you're on the Family First Facebook page or YouTube channel, you can comment live, you can put your questions to me. In fact, you don't have to discuss the topics I'm discussing. If there's something else on your mind and you'd like me to comment, to give it something around New Zealand and what's happening here, very happy to do my best. And as always, because I'll just do this quickly this morning, because there's quite a bit of breaking news. If you've been in your inbox from Family First, you'll see an email from Bob around actually quite a disturbing topic. It's around unborn babies born alive after a botched abortion. So it's a pretty heavy topic, to be honest, guys. Sicky on a Tuesday morning, but an important one. But before we get to that, and that's why my eyes keep moving for newbies, going, why does he keep looking to the side? This is where all my comments are, from the people like Catherine saying, good morning, we've got food dogs trucking, and I love the new image. Got Lynette there, good morning. And Michael, good morning, DD. We've got Murray as well, lovely to have you along, Murray. Hello, Rosie, always a pleasure to have you along. We've got Jackie there as well, good morning. Darren, good morning. We've got Jarina's there. Edmund, lovely to have you along. Look, to all of you joining me and others who will be coming on soon, a very good morning to you all. It is lovely here as well in Auckland. Look, a couple of lighter topics, if you will, before I jump into the heavier ones this morning, or the heavy one this morning. Knowing me, I'll talk for a long time. If you were around last night, that was last night because you can see streaming Monday, and of course today is Tuesday, we had our 100th episode of Straight Talk, and that was a great celebration last night. 17 hosts over the course of the last 3 years turned up, and I thought it was just a great evening. Of course, that's all still available through the Family First website, or go onto YouTube, wherever you source our material. It's all there, but each host, so there were 17 of us, and I suppose if there was a common theme, it was very much thanking Bob for his leadership, his courage and determination, but also a chance for each of us to give our little 3-minute summary, and those were quite inspirational, I have to say. Not my one, but everyone else's was very good. But yeah, thank you, Catherine. It was a really cool night, actually. Back to usual transmission next week when we'll have the usual 3 or 4. So there's that. I'm going to then jump to the absurdity file. This is a magazine in the UK. I'm going to jump back to something nice after this. This is the absurdity of modern Western society. So this is for Women of the Year awards. I've never heard of these, but none of those in the photo are women. They're all biological men. But this magazine, which to be honest, they're free to do, wants to celebrate them as part of Women of the Year. It's the absurdity of the gender ideology, which is infused in our society here, with the fundamental point being, of course, that truth is replaced by just simply what you want to believe, that reason is actually replaced by emotion and feelings. And so, absolutely nuts, to put it simply. But what is quite exciting is I have met this lady, this woman again. It's Helen Joyce, if you don't know who she is. She's an amazing advocate for women, for biological women, and has no time for gender ideology. She's been very outspoken in the United Kingdom. She used to actually be the editor of The Economist magazine. She has a PhD in mathematics, exceptionally articulate, and I'm actually sitting down with her in a few hours to do an interview with her. I met her in London earlier this year. She's currently over with the Free Speech Union, and I think it's the Women's Party. Again, her basic point is, biology is important. In fact, it's quite fundamental, in which we ground not only ourselves, but society. So I'm excited, I must say, to be sitting down with Helen and having a chat with her there. I'm sure she will have something to say about this nonsense. If I ask that sort of particular question, I'm more fascinated of how societies have ended up where they have in this space, and how so many people go along with it. Not myself, of course, but so many parents effectively facilitating the abuse of their own children go along. It's absolutely terrible. To others coming in from Nigel and Philippa, good morning. Lovely to have you along. Look, the big item today, and I don't have any images as you might imagine, but it's a press release that we've just put out literally in the last few minutes around, and again, it just signalled to people this is a, there's Claude. Oh, well, Claude, this is a, to do with Straight Talk last night, I'm pretty sure, guys. Well, Claude, it's lovely to have you along. Bob and I and the team, look, really appreciate literally the hundreds, thousands, and now we actually get tens of thousands of views. It's quite remarkable. Actually, we're up to almost 1 million views on some of our particular podcasts, like our detransitioners, Izzy and Zara. But we're incredibly grateful, actually, to people like yourself, Claude, and everyone here who engages. And as I keep saying, this is an invitation to all and everyone. If you've got comments or thoughts, obviously you can hit me up during the show. I'll do my best to get to them, but you can always email us as well, or on other social media platforms. Get in touch and let us know what you think. But as I say, a bit of a heavy topic. We actually had it discussed in the forum 2 years ago with Melissa Oden. Now, this is not about Melissa, the discussion today. It's about information we've uncovered here in Family First, which in effect is that it's actually quite disturbing when you think about it, but basically there are cases where children are born alive after a botched abortion. It's something which the government denies happened. I recall being in the Parliament in 2020 when Jacinda Ardern, and apologies for using her name, pushed through the most extreme abortion law, and I was putting to the government at the time an amendment to say actually medical care should be given to unborn children through botched abortions. And they said it doesn't happen, it's not scientific. Well, we've been doing some work at Family First for a little while now, and the sad reality is that on average, once a month, a child is born as a consequence of a botched abortion. And sad to say, awful to say, no medical care is given. Different DHBs, different hospitals operate in some way. Some will ask the parent or parents what they want done. Others will just put the baby in swaddling cloth and leave it. It's, again, quite disturbing to think about not only that this is happening, as I say, on average, once a month, it's been about 80 that have been identified. Now, that's really important to add here, actually, because when we asked all the DHBs, some responded and gave us the details and their protocols. The likes of Auckland DHB, the large DHBs, refused to respond, which tells you all you need to know about them, I'm sad to say. But interestingly, if the smaller ones are reporting the numbers they have to us, as I say, on average, one baby is born alive every month and just left to die. You can absolutely guarantee that the large DHBs like Auckland are seen many more numbers than that. So it's quite horrific, I think. But it also undercuts the pro-choice, the pro-abortion arguments, because the child is now outside the mother. The child is born because you know as well as I do, one of the big arguments is, well, it's in my body, it's my choice, there's no say on this. Well, actually now it's born. I would argue, of course, that it's always viable in the sense of a human viability. No, actually, I would better back that up. Not viable. Some children, of course, at a certain number of weeks are not viable in that sense, but its human rights exist. That's what I'm trying to get to. So, absolutely horrific. We're saddened at one level, but we feel it important to make sure this information is out there. Spread the word is my encouragement to you guys. I mean, it's a very tough topic. Perhaps it's something you just keep in the back of your mind if people raise this. But as we say, there's been 80 births that we know of. They will be important to stress in the younger part of pregnancy. I'm not going to give you all the details, but basically younger children are terminated by using chemicals, and the older the baby becomes, then they basically rip it to shreds, which is a medical abortion. Now, obviously, children of that age, so late-term abortions, do not survive. It's just physically impossible. But that's why I put the likes of this up. This was a podcast from last year, and I said Melissa was one of our guests. She survived an abortion. So younger, a chemical abortion, so taking pills, but she survived. Had she been in New Zealand, she would have been left to die. It's as simple as that. And it's a baby. It looks like a baby. It will have the inherent desire for life that any living creature has. And as I was trying to stress earlier, it's fascinating. One of the core arguments of the pro-choice brigade is that it's inside the mother and therefore has no separate rights. Well, it's bad news for the pro-death side that actually the baby is now born. It is fighting for its life. Would it survive completely like Melissa? Maybe. Would it last 5 minutes, 50 minutes? Who knows? But here in New Zealand, we don't give that baby, that human being, a chance. And it's absolutely terrible. I can see the comments coming through. I'm not going to be able to put them all up, but you're all on the right... Well, it's not for me to critique, but you're all on the right track. I mean, it is just totally horrific, and I think it shows a deep, deep sickness. So, as I say, this is not commentary about Melissa. I just thought I'd keep her photo up here just to say that, we know abortion survivors. In fact, at the conference last year when Melissa was speaking, another abortion survivor actually came up to stage. You might remember if you were there. So this does happen. I think that's probably the fundamental point that Bob and I and the Family First crew want to get across to everybody. This does happen. This is happening. As I say, our smaller DHBs have reported their numbers. The large ones have not. So when I say on average it's 1 a month, and that we have 80 over the last 3 years recorded, you can guarantee, you can bet your bottom dollar that many, many more than that. And so it's just absolutely tragic. And I should finish on this. It's also an indication, of the need to protect the health of the mother. If these are, and that, well, not, I don't have to actually caveat this, these will be chemical abortions, so the mother has taken pills to try and end the baby's life. Obviously that didn't succeed with the child, and we've discussed that, but it'll also have an impact on the mother. And so, we should think about that too. But this is all attempts to be pushed under the carpet by successive governments that don't do anything. And I noticed a comment from Murray here too. He says that, excuse me, which I thought was quite, whoops, what have I done? Wrong one. Sorry, Murray, we'll get this right. There we go. I'll let people read that as I have my quick sip of coffee to keep my voice. Yeah, and quite right. This is the irony, and in fact you see a whole lot of ads around at the moment around the welfare of pigs, for example, which, actually is something worth discussing. And I would put good money that those same people are more than happy aborting children. It's just absolutely awful. And I see like Justine's mentioning that when she was at National Women's had seen this happen. Kat here, I know it's heartbreaking. I think it is for all involved, including the mother. And you imagine what it's like for the doctors and nurses are now having to deal with this. It's what they call moral trauma. Maybe some hearts are so hard they don't care. But I'm again bet the last dollars that I have that those nurses and doctors are beyond horrified that what is a human life is just put in a little petri dish, left on the floor to die, or if you're that nurse who has to hold the child, knowing that it will expire in your arms. I mean, it's just absolutely horrific. But as I say, check out the press release. It'll be in your inboxes, or jump onto the Family First website if you get a chance, go back on and listen to Melissa's testimony. As I say, she spoke at the forum. You can get her speech as well, and this was just a podcast that I did with her. So yeah, now while I remember jumping topics because it's all so jolly heavy, this just came through this morning on, I think it was the Herald. A very, very sad case of a teenager here in New Zealand who took her life, had been exposed to pornography at a very, very young age and made her vulnerable, and then targeted, as I read it, by men, I'm sad to say, and ended up killing herself. Absolutely horrid and tragic. And I know we're having a lot of debate at the moment around access to the internet for under 16-year-olds and access to social media. And there's a lot of debate raging. I have actually done a recording a couple of days ago for our Family First podcast with Nathan Sueli from the new group called Pillar. Very much a debate because they're on the side of saying, hey, we need to make sure that privacy and freedoms are respected. And I must admit that resonates strongly with me. But cases like this are not singular and they're not rare. And here at Family First, we're aware of a lot of the harm which has been done to our young people. And we think actually big tech can do more, that something actually has to be done. Principles, rights, liberties, freedoms are all very important, but I think at times there come exceptional circumstances where we need to go, hey, we need to be able to do more, even if it is simply sending the legal signal that it's not okay, in the same way we do around drugs and alcohol. We're saying, hey, look, we are sending a signal. We know darn well young people under 18 go and get a drink and people are doing drugs when they shouldn't. But society is still sending a signal. And what did it save this young woman's life? Who knows? But what we do know is that her using and being accessing the internet and the online world has caused her to end her life. And so the question becomes, how do we create some tools that might help parents? Because I think fundamentally parents need to be supported in this space, not the government overriding them or anyone else, but what tools can be given. So I just want to preview very quickly that I've done. It'll be tomorrow. I'm dropping this podcast. This is a new podcast. Ian Corby heads up the Aged Verification Association. It's based out of the UK. It is supports businesses. So these are groups in the private sector who develop technologies around age verification and what they call age estimation. In other words, they don't need to know exactly your age, but they can work out whether or not you are under 18, under 16, and so on. And so I found it a fascinating discussion with Ian, because we go through a range of, suppose, some of the modalities, some of the technologies which are available out there. And I really encourage you to listen, because a lot of the discussion out there at the moment is that this will be big government, enormous amounts of your data will be taken, and therefore it's not worth it. We want to protect children, but the concern is that it's going to require these digital IDs, which people talk about. And the long and the short, listening to Ian, that doesn't need to be the case. There are ways already that actually will see your age estimated, very little data given about you at all. But as I say, it's just a preview. He's up tomorrow, as I say. I interviewed him late last week, but we're just doing the last little production bits and bobs on it, so that will come out tomorrow afternoon, which will be great. As I say, I really encourage you to listen to it, particularly if you have concerns around digital IDs, and particularly if you have concerns around how we protect children, because I think he breaks through some of the myths. As I say, he's part of an association which promotes these things. We're very aware of that. But he knows what he's talking about, including, get this, and I won't go into all the details, that you can simply use your hand. The camera can look at your hand and work out whether or not you're under 16 or over 18 and so forth. It's really quite remarkable technology which is out there. Look, I will start to wind up because, look, there's 50,000 things we could talk about. I mentioned earlier this podcast as well. If you haven't yet, it's over 700,000 now, but if you've not yet listened to Izzy and Zara's discussion, please do. So fundamentally important to hear about these stories of detransitioners, and it links back to my discussion today with Helen Joyce again, this gender ideology which exists out there, which says men can be women and women can be men, or if you want to be a cat or a dolphin. This transhumanism is not just academic. It has real-world consequences, as these two brave New Zealanders show. But the last thing I thought I would do, just to stir everyone up, is put Trump's face on the screen. Fascinating outburst, for want of a better term, in recent days that he's made. And this is what I'll end on today. He's basically threatened military action, what it says in the headline, in Nigeria over the killing of Christians. Now, my suspicion, this is just Trump saber rattling. I don't expect or suspect he would want to deploy American troops on the ground, but who knows. But I thought what was striking, and I haven't put the whole article up because it would be too small to read, is the dismissive nature of our mainstream media on this, of how they downplay what is verifiably happening. If you read through this article in the Herald or on any other mainstream media, they're all calling into question whether Christians are being killed in Nigeria, or if they accept that thousands are being killed, they try to remove the religious element. They downplay the role of jihadists. They downplay all the evidence that we have. It's interesting to me, at the very least, that up until now the mainstream media have ignored the butchery which is happening to Christians in Nigeria, in Sudan, Kenya, and little parts of Kenya in the Congo, and elsewhere. There is a growing problem. Islamists are taking over Mali as we speak. That will undoubtedly have an impact on Christians there. There's a real major problem, and mainstream media here in New Zealand, and to be fair around the world, have ignored it, downplayed it. They are obsessed with other places, which of course, well, I was going to say the death tolls are not even similar. The ongoing brutal violence in parts of Africa are just ignored. As to now, when Trump makes a statement about it, they lose their heads, and it's all of a sudden to be completely denied. And it is quite horrific. And these are the same mainstream media outlets and UN outlets that wring their hands. Obviously, we're thinking about the likes of the Israel-Gaza situation, protest every day and week, so wringing their hands. But when it comes now to tens of thousands of Christians who are being killed across the likes of Nigeria, Congo, and elsewhere, silence. And in fact, it's got worse than that now. They are, like this article and others portraying, trying to downplay it. Oh, is it really happening? Maybe it's not happening, they suggest. Oh, well, if they are killing these people, it's not because of their faith. These jihadists are just coming through and killing them because they happen to be in the way or the wrong economic system, which of course is absurd. I was in Utah recently, and why I mentioned that was a discussion of religious freedom at one of the universities there, and I was talking to several church figures out of Africa. One, granted, was from Kenya, and he was noting, he's actually a bishop there, a Catholic bishop in Kenya. He was saying to me, look, Simon, we don't have too much of this in Kenya, but it's really bad in the likes of Nigeria and Congo and elsewhere. It is very, very difficult. And I see Edmonds asking, why Christians don't fight back. At the end of the day, often they are just in villages farming. They don't have weapons. And what these jihadists do is surround the village. Often they'll try to cut it off for several days, so food and water, and then they just simply attack. More often than not, they just take the men and shoot them, and the young boys, the women, are taken away, raped or enslaved. Because, of course, for all the obsession with slavery here in the West, no one seems to talk about the continuation of slavery in parts of Africa and Arabia. It's really absolutely tragic. And I suppose, again, a very long way of me saying, fascinating how the mainstream media goes from silent complicity to the moment that Trump draws attention to it, they lose their rag. So, quite tragic. Keep them in your prayers. But look, in the meantime, I better wrap up. I can see the time. It's ticked away as always. I just hope you guys have a wonderful day ahead. I'm just going to put this up. Actually, this is my latest RCR interview with Lydio Postuma from the Voice for Life here in New Zealand. So I thought fascinating discussion around what's happening there. So jump on to RCR. As I say, you can always jump on and check out our various podcasts with, well, Family Matters. We've got the one from Melissa Oden. So we've had Marina from the Buttons Project recently, and as of tomorrow you'll be able to listen to my interview with Ian Corby, this fellow here, around age verification. So look, there's just no shortage of stuff. Jump onto our Substacks. You know where to find us. Guys, you have a wonderful day. I'm going to go and get ready to have that interview with Helen Joyce, and look forward to sharing that with you once it's done. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.